Welcome to another MLM Hot Topic Briefing with Tim Sales. This recording was taken from one of Tim's free hour-long training calls. Thousands of people from around the world have participated in Tim's free monthly training calls. If you would like to attend one of Tim's calls live, go to www.firstclassmlmtools.com/free01. And now we pick up with Tim while the call is in progress.
So number one, what is an objection? An objection means that someone, meaning your prospect, is opposed to something. The word opposed means to be in conflict with or to be resistant to a particular thing. A couple of examples: a person who is opposed of war or opposed to war. That means that a person doesn't believe that there should be a war. Okay, so they are in conflict with us being at war, or the discussion of war. If you'll just think that one through a little bit, if you have someone who is violently opposed to war, and you bring up the subject anywhere near it, then you can just picture what that person turns into. It's almost as though that they take their foot and put it up against the wall behind them, and they're going to stand their ground, right? So they're opposed to something. All right. So when you're talking to your prospect, it might be a one-on-one, and it might just be something just friendly. And that person, all of a sudden, you feel them put their foot up against the wall, grabbing a position, right? They're going to hold their ground on what they believe in. Whether they're right or wrong, it doesn't matter. You just have to be aware when someone is opposed to something that you just said. All right. So, there's several other examples that I've given there, but I think you can understand it. One of the other ones is just like the difference between someone who is, is in conflict with something, meaning very opposed to it, versus someone who is merely resistant to it. And your job in effectively handling questions and objection is to adequately and effectively measure the amount of opposition that your prospect is giving you. And it doesn't have to be an objection in order for there to be opposition. It can come in the form of a question, right? Don't tell me it's one of those pyramid schemes. That's a question, but you can tell that person has their foot up against the wall, right? And they're going to push off with it. So you have to measure that. And then taking a look at the two main types of objections. All right, so now that we've got the definition of objections understood, let's now take something like the two different types of objections. There are objections that are expressed. Okay, so that means somebody actually states them. And then there are objections that are unexpressed, meaning that they never state them. And a lot of times you don't even know that there's an unexpressed objection, and the reason that I know this for sure is because of some of the questions that were sent in to me. The questions that you sent to me told me that you could not identify what an unexpressed objection actually was. The example that I gave in the newsletter was that if you don't get a return, if somebody just says to you, I'm not interested, without any explanation whatsoever, then that is an unexpressed objection. And if somebody doesn't return your phone call over a period of time, obviously if a person has an emergency or they went away or something like that, they have a legitimate excuse there. But if somebody doesn't return your phone call, you've got an unexpressed objection. So when you send someone a video or a brochure or something like that, and then they will not return your phone call, then obviously there's and evidently there is an unexpressed objection there. Okay, so now, I'm putting a lot of emphasis right here on unexpressed objections, and there's a reason for it, because a little bit later on when I start going real deep into this whole thing, unexpressed objections are often caused by us. All right, we do it. We do it because we violate some of the communication qualities, and we do it in just our normal conversations with people, and then we do it because we're not aware of exactly when we said something. In other words, we are not being interested in the prospect enough to detect when that person all of a sudden went away mentally. All right, and there's clues all over the place if you just are aware and observant of what's going on around you. One of the general tips that I gave in the newsletter last year was be aware All right, observe. Take a look at what's going on. And a lot of these unexpressed objections that go hidden and secret, you could pick up on, and right then and there you could just say something like, I just detected that that I said something you didn't like. Did I? And maybe they'll say something like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Well, yeah, and then they'll tell you." So a lot of times you're able to detect this just because you pay very close attention and observe what's going on.
This Hot Topic briefing was taken from one of Tim's monthly MLM training calls. Want to get more people to join your MLM business? Tim built a downline of 56,000 people in 5 years, starting part-time. See exactly how he did it at www.firstclassmlmtools.com/free01.